Thanks so much for joining us today on Feelin Good, sponsored by Warren County Community Services. I'm your host, Shelley Abrams, and today, as you can see, we are in a very festive surrounding. We are here at the Golden Lamb Restaurant and Inn in Lebanon, Ohio. Did you realize that the Golden Lamb is the longest consecutive running business in Ohio? It started in 1803 and is at least, well, do the math, where we are today, it's at least 200 plus years old. But as you can tell, we are here at a very special time, the holiday time, which is a wonderful time to get together with family and friends. And today I'd like to introduce you to a very good and a very special friend of mine, Miss Beth Gully. And she is a wonderful friend and a very talented artist. And I invited her today so she could join us here in the lobby of the Golden Lamb to talk a little bit about her journey to where she is today. And we will talk more about that. So welcome, Beth. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Shelley. It's always good to see you.
Wow, it was wonderful. It's been a while.
It has been
since
a while.
We've seen each other. And it used to be that we would see each other on a regular basis. And then we both started becoming very busy with schedules that took us in different directions, right?
Yes.
And here we are, though. We made a date. We said, let's meet here at the Golden Lamb. And we're actually meeting here on the week prior to the horse-drawn carriage parade.
Yes.
So it's kind of the quiet before the crowd that's going to appear this weekend in the magical event that happens here in Lebanon. Okay, tell us a little bit. How did you journey here from your background, your schooling, your career, and then here you are today?
Yes.
Tell us, how did you get here?
I have had a very interesting journey. When I was in school, I was always good at art. So it was easy for me to know that was an area that I was going to go into.
Mm-hmm.
And so graphic design was the direction that I took. I started my business. It would be 33 years old today, but I retired a year ago because being a graphic designer, I learned about marketing. I created lots of logo. I think probably over 400 logos in my portfolio. And so making every line and every shape mean something is what has taken me into my next career, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
And that all unfolded, I guess that would be about 10 years ago.
Okay.
So, and no, it would be longer than that because as a graphic designer, you're always pleasing your clients, right?
Okay. Right.
And I could design my own Christmas card every year. And that was something that I did for me. There wasn't an objective. There wasn't, anybody to please except myself and the people that would receive them.
Mm-hmm.
And so this one year I was working on my card and I like to do things that have an aha, and I couldn't really think of anything, and time was running out because Christmas comes and then it's too late for your Christmas card.
Right.
But this particular year I thought, okay, I can't do anything really cool. I'm just going to write Happy Holiday and make it look like a snowflake. And maybe that'll be nice enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I sketched on a piece of paper. And when I came back from lunch, it was a warm November, and I had my window open. And when I came back from lunch, it had fallen on the floor. And when I picked it up, I could see how it was the word happy holiday. And I could see how the Y in happy could make an H for the holiday. And I played around with it. And within 4 days, I had it really close that it was going to work, but it wasn't all the way there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just needed to make one little tweak, because you're going from 5 letters to 7 letters. So I had the word happy one way, and upside down, it said holiday. But one of the P's didn't quite work. And I almost gave up. And I thought, I've got to get this card done.
Uh-huh.
And what happened, I made this one simple tweak, and it all came together. And I share that because it makes me realize how important perseverance is. Because if I had given up, I thought I was only 3% there because it didn't work. It doesn't work, you got to kill it, right? And I was so close, and I'm glad I stuck with it. And it worked, and that set the new trajectory, which I had no idea was coming.
Well, when I know you have told me that story, and I'm so happy you shared it with our audience today, because I always think of it as kind of a God wink moment.
Yes.
And when that breeze blew in the window and it turned the piece of paper just right, and then you, like you say, you persevered, and your view of it, you looked at it from different viewpoints, right, and kind of suddenly it took shape. And then that has been the basis of how many different types of artwork have you done related
to that
style.
Right. I think I've done probably about 35.
Okay.
And most of them come inspired, or somebody says the words and I hear them, and somewhere between them saying it and me hearing it, something magical happens. Mm-hmm. And I'll put one word on paper and I'll flip it over and I'll start to see something else forming. And I remember one time I was sitting in church and the pastor said, "Worry is prayer in reverse." And I thought, oh, all of a sudden my ears perk up. Okay, that sounds like something that might work. So I get my bulletin out and I write the word worry and I flip it over and there's nothing. And I'm turning it upside down. I'm doing all this. I'm thinking, I know this is supposed to work. And I did one change. I flipped it this way and I could look at it through the light in the ceiling and I could see the word prayer.
Well, I know I have your worry prayer card at home, and I think you brought a few examples.
If you can see it or not.
So there is the worry, and you even have a figure that's representing
looking
worry.
Down and out. Yeah. And then when you turn it over, it's the word prayer. And the silhouette that looks down and out now looks like they're surrendered in prayer. And I tried to get it copyrighted, and I sent it in, and they said, "You realize you can't copyright a word." And I'm thinking, well, it's hard to write the word worry and have it say prayer. That to me is artwork.
Right.
And they said, no, it would need to have artwork. And that's why I added the silhouette.
Oh, yes. I did not know that.
Yeah, that's why I added it. And then it was approved and I got my certificate.
Oh, very interesting. Yes. Well, where have you found, when you've given other talks, I know you've done this before, and you've been interviewed on, different channels in Cincinnati and on,
Dayton,
and Dayton channels. What have people how have people responded? In what way have they responded when they hear the story or they see the artwork that has evolved from this inspired method?
I think the constant thing that I'm hearing from people is that they're called ambigrams, like ambidextrous, that they bring hope. And I've thought about that, how, they say a picture is 1,000 words. We can tell somebody that we love them or that we care for them or, not to worry. But there's just something more powerful when it comes in the form of art because there's no expectation, there's no response needed. They can see it, view it, internalize it. And I can't tell you how many times I've given somebody a worry prayer card out of the blue. They've never seen one before, and they start crying. Or they say, "You have no idea what I've gone through today." I had one friend, she had a keychain with the worry prayer, and the cashier at Kroger said, "Oh my gosh, I love that." She took her keys off of it and handed it to her, and she started crying. She's like, "I just found out I've got breast cancer, and nobody here even knows yet." And it just spoke to her in a way that words sometimes aren't enough. Sometimes a picture can touch the heart. And so, especially with after COVID, and people have been so down and out, teenagers, I mean, just the rate of depression is so huge. And to know that something that I've created can create a breakthrough for them, to see hope and to know that there is another side. Seeing something that seems impossible be real. Magicians are awesome to watch. I think that's really fun, but we know that that's not real. This is just an ambigram. It's just an art form, but it's what happens in the heart when it's seen that can make a difference and can make an impact.
And that I think is the inspirational. It's often beyond description. You just have to be there when you feel that, or when you see it have the effect that it does on someone. And I'm noticing that you're kind of teary just telling about it, because I'm sure that you recall when that occurred.
Yeah, all the faces. Yeah.
Right. Well, do you have other examples?
I do. So after COVID, or during COVID, actually, is when I designed this one. It's the word peace. And this one, when you turn it over, it stays the same, because peace is never changing. It's always the same. And one thing I like when I give the cards away to somebody, it's not like I'm doing it because I want to see a response that they have. I do it because I feel nudged to give it to them, because it's in being obedient to what God calls us to do. And He knows when those moments are there and when it's going to touch somebody. And that's what makes it so special to me.
I was actually decorating my tree this weekend, and you had made a peace tree ornament.
Yes.
On a plaid, a round plaid disc. And I specifically put that out and thought, I'm going to be talking about this week. So here we are, with one of your ornaments that you made from that. And I just mentioned to you that I recently visited the International Peace Museum in Dayton, which is a very moving location in Dayton. It's actually downtown in the Justice Center now on Courthouse Square. And it's a very moving place to visit, because just as you mentioned, that Sometimes you can't describe the feeling that you get unless you immerse yourself in that, in that particular situation and so forth. And we certainly need peace around the world.
Yes, we do.
Today, don't we?
Yes.
And always.
Yes.
Well, okay, so peace is certainly ever popular.
Yes.
Yes. And others?
And so I mentioned the worry prayer card. Oh, I showed this one already,
Yes.
didn't I? Okay. So this one I designed when I was driving down the road listening to an author. And he was saying how when he let go of fear, then he could find love. And of course, I didn't know if it was going to work or not, but to me, that was another one of those moments where something clicks and I feel like I'm supposed to make something. But this one didn't work upside down or this way. This one actually went like that. And I could see it while I was driving. Of course, once it started taking shape, I put it down and finished it when I got to my sister's house. Yeah.
It's as if it's always there. It's just if you can see it or not, right?
Exactly. I love that because there's nothing new that I've done using any equipment or anything that wasn't around 50, 200, 2,000 years ago. Yeah, I guess it always did this. It just hadn't been put to paper yet.
Well, and yet you have to have that artistic ability to create the shapes of those letters the way you do, so that I mean, it certainly would not appear without your artistic ability. It's just amazing how there it is. If you only look hard enough, right?
Well, I will say this. I do teach people how to make ambigrams. Apparently, so when I first did my first ambigram, Happy Holiday, there was a magazine article that came out that February. And it was a famous ambigram designer. He's the one that gave it a name back in 1970. And he said in the article that there were only a half dozen people in the world making these upside down words. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I wrote a letter to the editor and I said, well, there's half dozen in one. This famous person reached out to me and he's like, wow, if that's your first, that's pretty advanced. So that was kind of my beginning. And when I found out that it actually had a name, and all of that. But it was just an interesting, eye-opening thing. So now there's 94 of us.
Okay.
And because 94 of us were printed in a international book. I'm listed as USA, not Ohio, not Lebanon.
Oh my.
And so knowing that there's only 94 in the world, I want to make sure that the art doesn't die. So I teach other people how to make them. And I've got a YouTube tutorial on how to do it. You just have to download the worksheet on my website, bethgully.com. And the video has had 5.6 thousand views.
Oh my.
So people are learning how to make ambigrams. And that's really exciting to me because I think that it's exciting for the person creating it. It helps with brain flexibility as well. So I guess my thinking is if you can open your eyes and wonder, open your idea to creativity, I think anybody can make them. They just need to know to try.
Well, could you give us a little demonstration today?
Yes.
Okay, let's see.
So I kind of started the word hope, and all I'm going to add now is the E. Oops. And then I'm going to underline it. Let's see if I can make that just a little bit darker, like that. So it's the word hope, and then when you turn it upside down,
the magic begins.
It becomes the word joy. And I designed this. A friend was doing a presentation last Christmas, and she wanted a word that would flip over that included hope and encouragement. And this is what I found, and she worked it into her talk. So
And the addition of that little,
Right. Just underlining the word hope turns it into joy.
right.
Shall I flip it back so they can see what it was
Yes.
before again? So there's hope. And here's joy.
That is delightful. You know what I'm thinking is I'm a part of the ILR program at Miami, and they have a program also that we connect with that's called the Scripps Avid program, and they're involved with OMA, and it's opening minds through art.
Oh my gosh, I would love to get
And
involved.
I'm thinking that I will connect you with them because I think you both would love knowing more about one another.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
great. Sure. Well, I know that the ambigram part of the journey then started leading you to other projects, correct?
Yes, yes. So 2 years after I created the Happy Holiday design, I had a huge growth in my faith. And that particular Christmas, when I got ready to work on my card, I prayed first. And before I said amen, I got the idea to do Santa one way and Jesus the other. And I remember thinking, that's never going to work. And I played around with it, and it did work. And I got the word Santa to change to Jesus as well. And 12 years after that is when the book, The Other Side of Christmas, was inspired to be created.
Which we are planning to visit down in the Golden Lamb gift shop. So stick with us because we want to take you to the Other Side of Christmas book that's on display and for sale down in the Golden Lamb gift shop. We'll be right back. Thanks for joining us again. You'll be glad you did. We descended the steps in the Golden Lamb, and we are now in the beautiful gift shop. And as you can see, we have a poster even on display of Beth's work because very often Beth will do book signings, correct?
Yes.
And book readings.
Yes.
Right here in the gift shop. So without me telling you about what Beth does, why don't we let Beth describe what's happening here in this beautiful Golden Lamb gift shop right now?
Well, I do want to say Kathy Schwab, who runs the gift shop, she carries my largest collection of all my work, from my Christmas cards to note cards and my books and everything. So, and she has them year round, and I just love that. I appreciate how she's highlighted me as a local artist and author.
We appreciate Kathy allowing us to visit down here today because it's a very busy day, right? And a very busy time of the year.
Yes.
So, okay, show us some of the goodies.
So I had shared earlier about the Santa Jesus art that I had created, and this actually would have been in 1994. And it's the face of Jesus, and when you turn it upside down, or the face of Santa, and when you turn it upside down, it becomes the face of Jesus. And the word also changes. I don't know if you can see that, but it's also in the book. So why don't I pull the book out?
I remember when you were doing a book reading a year or two ago during the parade weekend, and I brought my grandchildren here, and we sat in the circle right here by the fire, and they were so entranced by you reading the book to them, and then also pointing out the illustrations, which they still remember. So,
you know, I love how intergenerational it is because all ages can connect with the images. I've actually found architects enjoy my books too because they like art, you know, they like the unusualness of how it flips. So, yeah. So this is the book, The Other Side of Christmas. And it turns the stockings on the mantle into the shepherds in the manger, and there's baby Jesus in the lower corner. And as a graphic designer, I've learned how to make certain things stand out more than others. So, like in this case, baby Jesus is very obvious because they're all looking there. But the picture of the stockings is iconic enough that you don't look at the rest of it. So Jesus is actually hidden in the bow and you don't see him. The other thing about graphic design is that your eye tends to do a Z across the page. That's why you'll see logos in the lower right corner, because the eye does this and it lands here. So you'll see a lot of my key elements will be in that lower right corner.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's how graphic design ties in with the books.
There's method to it, right?
I know. So here's the word Santa, a little easier to see. And it'll flip over to Jesus.
And you have actually spoken to classrooms, right?
Yes.
In different schools and so forth.
Yes.
Normally they're Christian schools or private schools, right?
Correct. I have been invited to a couple of public schools. I can get into public schools through the art department, where it's okay to talk about religion or things that otherwise wouldn't be allowed. And one public school sent permission slips home. And every child in the school came back with a signed permission slip to let me share the book with them.
There you go.
But I do have a favorite picture I want to share. This is the, so this way we have popcorn and ornaments hanging on the tree. And when you turn it upside down, it becomes the three wise men carrying their frankincense and gold and myrrh.
Now that is just amazing to me. It's almost like a Where's Waldo kind of feel to find the figures in this, larger picture. But in this case, it's very illustrative, obviously, of the story.
And kids, I'll see them when I'm presenting. They'll be turning their heads upside down,
right,
trying to see what the other picture is going to be ahead of time. Right. But I do have something also for the younger children, because the books are slated for K through third grade. But I personally have found that third through fifth grade are much more animated when they see it flip over. I mean, I see them do this with their hands and talk to their friends. So for the younger ones that may not understand the upside down, there's a star to find in the second half of the book. In this case, it's right here. And in the pictures, it's a fun thing for the younger ones to look for, because, it makes the second side of the book more interesting. And this is a picture of Santa flying overhead. And then when you rotate it, it becomes Mary and Joseph traveling to Bethlehem. And then the star is always above Jesus. If Jesus is in the picture, the star will be over him. And if he's not in the picture, I've just hidden it somewhere. So there is a Where's Waldo as well.
Well, I did actually speak with an educator today, or someone that had been involved with education, and she was saying that this type of work really has an impact on right brain, left brain, centering your brain. Have you heard?
I have not heard that, but I do know that it involves math, more of a visual math than a numbers math, because I'm looking for the lowest common denominator between both pictures, which makes it left-brained. And then the right brain is what's able to experience the aha of finding a picture or something creative within the image.
And then also reading, we're usually used to reading or looking left to right, but in this case, you also look right to left. You allow your mind and your eye to be able to get an overall
Absolutely.
visual of all different viewpoints.
Yeah, there's so much science involved in this. I mean, what I've learned is the brain fills in those gaps.
Okay.
When a letter is missing a part of it, the brain fills it in. So that's what I call the lowest common denominator between both words or both pictures, is because I let the brain fill in the space differently for the upside down picture.
Well, it's creative, so creative in and of itself. But the fact that you have analyzed all these concepts and you are the creator of this. So once again, very inspired, very inspired.
Thank you.
So I see that you have another book.
I do have another book. So when I went around to schools with the Christmas book, we'd have question and answer, and they would always say, when are you going to do an Easter book? So I did an Easter book.
Of course.
And that came out 4 years later. And the cover shows the face of a bunny.
Mm-hmm.
And when I turn it over, a lot of times kids still see the upside down bunny. And what I tell them to do is to look at the bunny's nose, and that will help them to see the face of Jesus. And his robe comes down the middle, and his arms are off to the sides.
So you really focus on a different part of
Instead
the
of seeing the ears and the face this way, you look at the whites.
Right. Mm-hmm. Very good.
And it's funny. These books, they encompass so much. Like we were talking about, science and all that stuff. But it's also an amazing way to share the gospel. To share the message of Christmas and of Easter in a way that's unique and different, that maybe people that didn't want to know about faith or God, now they have a way to learn that story, and in a fun and a whimsical way.
Right, right. Very good.
I like that about it too.
For sure. Well, how long have you been on display with your books here in the gift shop?
Okay, so the Christmas book launched in 2014.
Okay.
And she carried them that year. And she started carrying some of my other ambigram cards because the ambigrams came before the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then it took me 8 years to get the Christmas book done. So if you put the math together, that was 20 years from the idea of doing the book, or the Santa Jesus ambigram, to when the book actually released.
Okay.
And most of the time that I spent in those 8 years was because I was afraid that I would ruin a really good idea. 3 years I got all the sketches done, and then it took 4 years for me to take it to final art, because I forgot that when something's inspired in you to do it, that you actually have the gifts to complete it. And I was supposed to do it. I wasn't supposed to hire somebody else to do the artwork. So, so once I got the courage up, and that's what I love to share with children, is that they're all born with a purpose, and to lean into it, to not be afraid. Like I was afraid for 4 years. And knowing that if their teachers tell them that they're good at something, and their parents and their friends, and they know they are, but they're a little afraid to step into it because they don't want to, mess it up or do it wrong, that they have a gift and it's theirs to share. And I think had I not stepped into the purpose that God had for me, I could have denied so many children of seeing, this story, not just of, Jesus and Santa, but also of knowing that their eyes can be open to making something upside down, that anything is possible. I think children and adults, we need to know that.
I was just going to say, children of all ages.
Of all ages.
Including
Yes.
the parents, the grandparents, and just folks that are watching today. I'm hoping that is what they will be able to think about more. and really maybe watch this over and over again, because maybe the first time through it's like, well, I didn't even know that existed, and then watch it over and over again, and maybe you'll start doodling.
I hope so.
And maybe you'll get your grandchildren and your children during the holidays to do a little doodling. And if so, maybe they, again, would like to know your website. Maybe
Yes.
they'd like to send something to you.
Oh, I would
whatever.
love to see it. Yeah, and
Okay.
I could post if anybody sends me what the kids do or what you do.
Okay.
I will put it on my Facebook page.
Oh,
that
great.
would be really fun.
Great.
And you can download the worksheets for making an ambergram at bethgully.com. But you can also download a worksheet on how to make an ambergram Christmas card. So I have some of my ambergrams on there that are holiday related, and you can just trace it on a piece of paper, and the worksheet explains how to do that. And then the tutorial to make an ambergram is on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Well, you have so many assignments now that we hope you follow through, because we have hopefully been able, through our discussion and then a little audio visual, been able to show you how Beth inspires all of us who know her. And I thank you for spending
Thank
this
you.
time with us today, Beth.
You're so welcome.
And wish you and your family wonderful, wonderful holidays.
Thank you.
And
You too.
we wish all of you wonderful holidays as well. Peace now, and peace in the new year, and peace always. We hope you're feeling good. Bye for now.